Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating source module titled The Art of Professional Refusal. We're going to look specifically at how to navigate what the text calls special events. You know, those tricky workplace dynamics where a simple no just isn't going to cut it. Let's start by challenging how we traditionally view boundaries. When exactly is saying no an art form? Most of us view refusal as a negative, right? Something that inherently creates friction or awkwardness in our daily interactions. But the source material reframes this completely. It posits that saying no isn't a rejection at all. Instead, it's a vital, highly nuanced professional skill that requires real tact, strategy, and self-awareness to pull off properly. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The art of refusal. 2. The special events framework. 3. Commercial situations. 4. Supervision and expertise. And finally, 5. Employee relations. Let's jump right into Section 1, the art of refusal and mastering the professional no. The core subject we're investigating from the text is how to navigate refusal, specifically during what are defined as special events. And to be clear, we aren't talking about casually declining a lunch invite from a coworker. We're talking about high-stakes interactions, like pushing back on a major client's completely unrealistic deadline or denying a huge resource request from another department. These are moments that require you to be incredibly intentional with your boundaries. The foundational objective of this module is actually quite simple, but it's powerful. Participants have to learn how to adapt their refusal strategies based entirely on the specific events they're facing. Context is literally everything here. You just cannot approach every denial with the exact same vocabulary, reasoning, or tone. That brings us to Section 2, the special events framework, covering 3 distinct arenas of refusal. So the module categorizes these high-stakes events into 3 distinct professional arenas. According to the source text, these are commercial situations, supervision or expertise, and employee relations. These are your 3 primary battlegrounds where the professional no has to be mastered, and each one demands a completely different tactical approach. By defining these as special events, the source material highlights a really critical reality. A one-size-fits-all approach to saying no simply does not work. A distinct professional scenario requires a highly specific, categorized strategy. You absolutely cannot use the exact same toolkit to say no to a paying client that you would use to say no to a subordinate. Let's isolate that very first pillar in Section 3, commercial situations. Now, this arena forces participants to navigate a highly delicate balance. Think about it. This is where external business, sales, client demands, or vendor partnerships are actively on the line. The module recognizes that refusal here has direct financial and reputational implications. Because of this, the source material suggests using a specific tactical approach, like a yes-if framework. This strategy helps protect the underlying partnership by offering viable alternatives or negotiated conditions rather than just dropping a flat, conversation-ending denial. So, how do you actually maintain a business relationship while firmly denying a commercial request? Think about your own day-to-day for a second. Saying no to a demanding client without losing the account entirely is the ultimate tightrope walk. The text suggests that successfully denying a commercial request effectively means separating the relationship from the transaction. You've got to consistently affirm their overall value as a client and partner while clearly and firmly drawing a boundary line around that specific unworkable deliverable, timeline, or cost. It's all about preserving the rapport even when the immediate answer has to be a no. Moving from the external to the authoritative, we hit Section 4, supervision and expertise. The source text brilliantly bundles 2 unique positions of power together into one complex refusal scenario here. On one hand, you have supervision, overseeing others and managing direct reports. On the other hand, you have expertise, providing specialized knowledge where people are constantly relying on your unique skills to get their own work done. Supervision involves protecting your team's overall bandwidth from an endless stream of outside requests. Expertise involves protecting your own time when everybody wants to constantly pick your brain. In both cases, your no is really about rigorous resource management and upholding operational standards. When you're the authority or the resident expert in the room, saying no carries an entirely different weight, right? It requires a very specific communicative muscle. You aren't just declining a singular task. You're actively setting a precedent for future interactions. To wield that no correctly, The source material advises anchoring your refusal in shared overarching goals. As a supervisor or subject matter expert, you aren't just saying, "I won't do this." Instead, you're saying, "In order to deliver on our main strategic priority, we simply cannot take this extra request on right now." It frames the refusal as a protective measure for the team's shared success. Finally, the module brings us to our last category, Section 5, Employee Relations. This specific event focuses entirely on the internal, interpersonal dynamics of refusal within a team or company structure. This deals with your peers, colleagues, cross-departmental requests, and really the overall cultural fabric of your workplace. It's the arena where the professional very often blurs heavily with the personal. Because of this intimacy, the text highlights that a no in employee relations must be highly empathetic, yet fiercely consistent. You have to prevent quiet resentment from building up over time, while simultaneously avoiding any accusations of favoritism when you're deciding whose request to accommodate and whose to firmly decline. It's super interesting to look at the stark contrast the module sets up here. Commercial situations deal with the outside world, where metrics and contracts drive the relationship. Internal employee relations, on the other hand, are driven by daily culture. The way you politely but firmly decline a third-party vendor pushing an upsell is light years away from how you tell colleagues sitting right in the next cubicle that you can't cover their shift this weekend. The framework demands that your communication style, your tone, and your reasoning shift entirely based on which side of this divide you're standing on. So, here is the complete boundary blueprint. 1, commercial; 2, supervision or expertise; and 3, employee relations. To summarize the source material, mastering the art of professional refusal means participants have to be completely adaptable, armed with specific tactics for each one of these zones. Whether it's deploying a yes-if strategy in commercial settings, anchoring your refusal in shared goals when you're acting as an expert, or applying empathetic consistency with your immediate peers, you need to be able to instantly identify your arena and deploy the right kind of no. As you reflect on this entire blueprint derived from the text, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Ask yourself, in which of these 3 arenas is your professional no the weakest link? Are you maybe a bit of a pushover in commercial situations? Do you struggle to assert your expertise when people demand your time? Or do internal employee relations trip you up because, at the end of the day, you just really want to be liked by your peers? Identifying your weak spot is the very first step to mastering the art of professional refusal. Thank you so much for diving into this framework with me, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.